Nope. Alright. Hey Geek Squad, it is me, Jace and Loki here on the Coin Mining Geek channel. We're here today to deliver a video all about tuning your Antminer L3 Blissz cryptocurrency miner. And the way we're going to do that, guys, is we are going to do this live. I'm going to show you the settings, how to change them, why to change them, what to change them for, and we're going to do it safely so that you don't end up blowing up your machine, because ultimately we still want to make those coins passively. So Geek Squad, I just wanted to take a moment before we dive into the tuning video to just say about the current market situation. I know your miners might not be profitable right now, but I would encourage you, unless they're making minus £2 to £3 and beyond a day, keep them running. Why? Because it's an investment. Every single day you're forced to pay that electric bill, you're stacking those coins up. Those coins will have massive value when we come into this next bull run, guys. So today we are going to talk about tuning your Antminer L3 Blissz. Now, if you haven't updated the firmware to the Blissz firmware that I talked about in this video, here is the thumbnail, guys. I encourage you to watch that video first, update your firmware, and then come back here, because now we're going to go into some of the technicals where we start tuning this either for economy or for coin stacking. Now, with what I just said, bearing in mind the market current conditions and situation, going to stack the coins up and not caring about the wattage that the machine is putting out might not be the best call right now, but it's entirely up to you guys. I'm going to go through both ways of tuning, and the reason, like I said before, this video took so long to produce is I've had to run these modes for at least 3 to 5 days to make sure that they're safe, there's no overheating going on, no ASIC chip failures, to see whether it's consistent. And now I can show you what's going on and how to tune these boards very, very efficiently. So without further ado, let's get into a screen share and I'll start explaining some of the technicals to make it as simple as possible for you to understand how to get the most out of your Antminer L3 Blissz. Okay, Geek Squad, now before we dive too hard into this, I'm going to quote Uncle Ben right now. No, not the rice guy. Spider-Man's uncle. With great power comes great responsibility. And what I mean by that is you, having updated to this Blissz firmware, now have the opportunity to either decrease or increase the pressure in association with the work that your miner does. And what I mean by that is you're going to either increase the lifespan by setting it into an economy mode, or with the excitement of making new coins, you are going to reduce the lifespan. Now, this is a disclaimer. If you do not know about the life of your miner, or you haven't watched it at just like an economical mode, or watched the hardware errors just for a few months, so looked at this hardware box down here and calculated that they're not doing any more than 50 to 100 hardware errors per chain, these are your chains on the left hand side, per day, then I would not be looking to overclock your machine, okay? That being said, let's dive into this and I'm going to show you how to tune this. There's going to be two main things that you're tuning on this, and it's going to be to do with your MH here, your mega hash per second, and the volts, okay guys? So your mega hash is controlled by the frequency at which your chips are working and the volts that are being put to your chips. Now you'll notice that there's a different number here on chain 2 as to chain 1, and I'll explain why that is in just a second. And for anybody that is really looking at this, guys, you know what you're doing and you're paying attention to the details. My Antminer L3 Blissz right now is running at 650 mega hash. Well, this is a 508 mega hash machine, so it is overclocked and it is doing very, very well, guys. It's been doing this for 2 days and 2 hours after I retuned it for the second time, and we have a total of 513 hardware errors, and it's just that second chain which is a little bit high on those errors. So I'm going to explain a little bit more about this. So if you come over into miner configuration on your Antminer L3 and you click on advanced settings here, then you're going to come into this screen. This will not look like this screen, guys, if you have not updated your firmware to Blissz, okay? I cannot reinforce that enough. So first things first, when we come over to the advanced settings, you'll notice you've got global settings, which control all of your chains, and then you've got settings per chain. And it says here, we'll override the global settings when set. So if, for example, coming back over to miner status, you have this second chain which is throwing out 400 hardware errors, and you thought that was too many, you can go and retune that individual board to produce less hardware errors, which I did just the other day. I'll send up a photo right now, guys, a screenshot which shows this particular chain was doing about 3,500 hardware errors, I think, in about the same sort of time. So I've retuned this board and increased the voltage here to reduce the pressure. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So we're back into advanced settings. Now, the first thing that's going to happen when you upload your Blissz firmware, guys, you're going to be on the lowest voltage setting here, okay? And your M number, your frequency, is going to be 384. These are the standard settings, which means you're going to be in like an economy mode. So it's going to reduce pressure on your Antminer, and you are going to extend the life of it, which is great. And it means that your cost or your watts per mega hash come down, so you're running more economically. As you overclock the machine, the opposite happens. So you're putting more pressure on the machine, you reduce the lifespan, but it also costs more per mega hash. And the reason for that, guys, is because these machines aren't supposed to do that, but they can and they will. So the way you overclock your machine, guys, is starting very, very slowly. 500M is a big jump away from 384. That's nearly a 30 to 35% increase in hash rate, but the electricity consumption is nearly doubled. So it's not that economical. I want you to bear that in mind. And again, you're going to drastically reduce the life of the machine. Now, the way you overclock is to increase very gently. So going, for example, from say 384, maybe to 400 at the most, and increasing the voltage slightly. So if you're on the lowest setting, I go to 2 or 3. Then what you're going to do is come over to your miner status and monitor this. Don't change settings within minutes, wait days. Look at these hardware errors. Hardware errors are a representation of this stress and pressure on your miner, guys. Watch the temperatures on your chips. If your chips or your PCBs here in these two columns are going above 70 to 75 degrees, then you have a problem. It's overheating, okay? And in order to be able to reduce that pressure, what you need to do is increase the voltage or reduce that frequency number back down. And bear in mind, as you overclock this machine, this fan is running at 4,000 RPM. When it's in economy mode, guys, it only runs at 16 to 1800. So there's going to be a lot more noise and a lot more heat produced, generally speaking, from overclocking this. So let's go back into advanced settings just a sec. I've made it up to about 500M and 20 on the voltage setting because that's where the hardware errors seem great and I'm getting a reasonable hash rate and I'm okay with the electric costs at that point because I want to start stacking these coins up because it looks like we're coming out of this bear run right now. Now the reason here in chain 2 I've got the voltage higher, I'm not using global like you can see on these other chains, is because that second board was throwing out far too many errors. It was throwing out about 500 to 1,000, I believe, even more probably per day just on that chain. That's a lot of pressure on that. So by increasing the voltage or decreasing the frequency, so I could have come down on the frequency using this option here. I could have brought it down to maybe, for example, 480 or 450. I can actually reduce the pressure on that chain. Yes, it will affect the mega hash, but not drastically, but it will make a big difference to the pressure on that machine. So by increasing the voltage, you're allowing more power to go to it and not ask for more from that chain from less, if you like. So if you imagine, it's almost like restricting fuel in a car and then asking for more speed from it. It's going to put a lot of pressure on the engine, isn't it? And that's exactly the same thing. So I hope that makes sense, guys. Again, a disclaimer, just tune slowly and gently. It's taken me nearly a month to come to these settings where I'm happy. But as you can see here, instead of running 171 watts per board, it's 313 on average. That's a considerable cost that you need to take into consideration. It's a bit of a gamble essentially, guys, because I'm not making anywhere near the coin price that I was before, but I'm expecting all of the tokens and the coins that I'm mining right now to start coming back up in price as Litecoin's turning and we're coming up out of this bear run. Okay, Geek Squad, so I want to go ahead and summarize what we've gone through because it was quite a lot on there. Essentially, first thing is first, no, this is not financial advice. Do this at your own risk. As I've said at several points during the video, you will reduce the lifespan of your miner if you overclock it. Underclocking it, however, and making it more efficient, going into like an eco mode, if you like, will mean that actually you get more from your miner and it lasts longer because it's not drawing as much power. You're not expecting as much from the machine. Do this safely, guys. If you're not sure on the background of your machine, please go ahead and run your machines for at least a month or so on the new Blissz firmware before you actually start trying to tune this, unless you have a lot of hardware errors coming out, and then you can start tweaking these. But do it for economy purposes first rather than jumping straight into an overclock. This is how machines get broken, blown up, lost, and they don't become profitable because people are too keen to rush into this stuff. This is the very first time that I've overclocked my machine, guys, and I've had my Antminer L3 Blissz for nearly, I think, 5 or 6 months now, and it's the first time of me overclocking the machine to ask for more from it. To get to know and understand your machines, know the environment that you've got your miners in is clean. I actually hoover my area where the miners are, even though it's down in the garage in the secure container and stuff, guys. I still hoover in there because I don't want the dust, the dirt, the grime in there. I want my miners to last me for years and years. So look after the environment that they are in. So guys, thank you so much for joining me on this one. I know it was a long one. I appreciate you all being here. And if you're watching to the end, we have a bit of a giveaway coming up very soon. I thought I'd talk about appreciating all of you as the Geek Squad and as my loyal subscribers all the time. I haven't really shown any of you my loyalty to you as my subscribers yet. So there will be a giveaway coming very shortly. So guys, thank you once again for your support on the channel. Please go ahead and smash that like button if you haven't already. Let me know down below if you've managed, firstly, to update your firmware on your Antminer L3 Blissz, and then if you are going to be tuning it as well. I'd love to know how it goes for you guys. I've been very successful with the tuning of my Antminer L3 Blissz. They've been in eco mode for months and months and months, and drawing great coins from a great power consumption. Thank you so much again for joining me, and I will see you on the next one.